It's Marcus, MPenTech, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this portable monitor from electriQ. Now, this was a bit of a weird purchase for me. I have found portable monitors to be quite intriguing, and I saw this one at £99, so I thought, you know what, let's give it a go. Stat-wise, it's a 15-inch IPS 1080p monitor. It has two USB-C ports and a mini HDMI. It has two built-in 1-watt speakers. It has a headphone jack. It weighs 780 grams and it's 9mm thick. There's no built-in battery, so it does rely on a power source being plugged in at all times, which isn't so bad, but it really depends on how you want to use it. In the box, you get the screen itself with a leather folio case already attached, a USB-C cable, and a mini HDMI to HDMI cable. For my use, I use it for a secondary display or a third display, which is what I generally think this device is aimed for. Let me explain why. The screen quality is good enough. It's an IPS display, but the viewing angles aren't amazing. Not what I would really expect from an IPS display typically. And I think this could be down to the brightness or lack thereof. Now don't get me wrong, the brightness is fine if you're indoors and you were using it as a secondary display, but if you are outside, I reckon you could really struggle, and it really doesn't help with off-axis viewing. However, most of the time you're going to be using this dead on, looking at it straight ahead, and you're not going to really have any issues with that. Now, as I said before, I use this as a third display and it sits right underneath my Dell Ultrawide. I typically use it for tasks that don't really need a bright and vibrant screen, so for things like a terminal or YouTube music or some documentation. Those are really type of tasks where it doesn't really matter what type of screen it is, as long as it kind of works and is readable and sharp enough. So you wouldn't really catch me watching any videos on it or using it as a main display ever, because it's just not really good enough for that. Now before you say, well Marcus, you've got an iPad Pro, why don't you just use Apple Sidecar and use that as an external display? Well, to be honest, I was super looking forward to that being released, and I did use it a bit on launch, but I found that the latency was a tiny bit more than what I was expecting, and it drained the battery quite a bit. And to be honest, since it was 11-inch as well, I didn't miss it enough when I wasn't using it, so I kind of just stopped using it. The resolution though is something that kind of surprised me. We're in a world now where a 1080p monitor is considered quite low resolution when you have 1440p, 4K monitors, and now even 8K. Many people hear 1080p and immediately discount it as a bad monitor, when really you should look at how large the screen is and how far you're sitting away from it. A good example of this is when Apple first coined the term Retina display with the iPhone 4 back in 2010. Now, that device had only a resolution of 960 by 640, but because of how large the screen was and how far you were away from the screen, the image looked really sharp and you couldn't differentiate between the individual pixels, so it looked really good. The same thing applies here, and you can actually calculate this viewing distance on this website here, and I'll leave the link to that in the description below. So for this display, you'd have to be sitting 23 inches away in order to be unable to distinguish between the individual pixels, which I think is what most people and I are going to be doing anyway. And I can honestly say that the resolution of this display is fine for me. I don't ever think it's low res or poor quality or anything like that in this regard. Connection wise, it's good. I've been using the USB-C port on it, and that's connected to my MacBook, and this is really cool because I can just connect the one USB-C cable from my MacBook to the monitor, and it will drive the monitor and also draw power from my MacBook to power itself. It doesn't really seem to draw too much power either, so this is great for the power user on the go. It does have two USB-C ports, but I can only get the one on the left side to provide signal to the display. I think maybe the one on the right is only used for power only. This is a shame, as it would have been nice to be able to connect to the display from both sides, but it's not the end of the world. If you do use the HDMI port, you will need to provide power from an external source, whether that be a USB-C plug, or an external power bank, or your phone. Yes, that's right, I did say your phone. So I connected my Pixel 3 to this display, and it did power on the display, but no signal came out, and I think that's a limitation on my Pixel 3. I tried this on the OnePlus 8 as well, and it not only powered the display, but it also mirrored the screen. So this is really cool. If you've got some videos or something and you're on the go and you just want to watch them on a bigger screen, then you can do just by simply connecting the one USB-C cable from your phone to the display. Onto the speakers. Now, let me just say that this is probably the worst part of this display, as they are utter garbage. They're only 1-watt speakers, so you shouldn't really expect much. You definitely want to connect your headphones or external speakers using the 3.5mm jack on this display. That being said, it's better than no speakers at all, as I can easily imagine a situation where you just need to hear some sound regardless of quality. You just have to hope that there's no ambient noise around you, otherwise you're not going to be able to hear them. As a portable display, it definitely ticks that box. It only weighs 780 grams, and could it be a bit lighter? Yeah, it could, but at this price point, I'm really not going to complain. This easily fits into my backpack with my MacBook Pro 16-inch, and I can easily see it being useful if you're a power user on the go, which is a trend I see becoming more prevalent in this post-lockdown, post-pandemic world that hopefully we'll be going into. A lot of office-based companies are now starting to realize that they don't need as much real estate for their employees as they used to, as people can achieve the same or maybe even more work just by working from home. So for a lot of those companies, they're transitioning into small offices with less desks, and those desks they do have are hot desks, so no one really owns them. And rather than going into the office 5 days a week, you spend most of it at home. So a display like this could be extremely useful for that 1 or 2 day a week you do go in. I can imagine myself just rocking up at work, I take out my laptop, unfold it, take out my secondary display, connect it, and I'm good to go. And when you're all done, it easily all folds back up and all goes back into your bag. The leather folio case is a great addition. My only complaint would be is that I wish that the magnets could be a bit stronger, but again, for this price point, I'm not going to complain too much. The screen UI is pretty basic. There is a rocker to adjust the brightness, and there is a single button to switch inputs, and that's it. But to be honest, that's all you probably need. There's no volume adjustment, not that the speakers can go loud anyway, so this has to all be driven by the device that's connected to it. Another small issue is that the brightness resets every time you connect the display to its default value of 30 out of 100, which is quite annoying, but again, looking at the price, I'll let it slide. It's worth noting that you can buy a 4K version of this display. A friend of mine actually bought this model, and he confirmed that some of the issues around the brightness aren't present in that model. So there is no brightness resetting or the brightness being too low there. So you do get, in general, a better quality display, not just a high resolution. It also comes with a USB 3.0 Type A port, but do bear in mind that at the time of making this video, it is currently priced at £199, a whole double of what the 1080p version costs. So at the end of the day, I'm quite happy with this monitor. I think the main draw to it from my point of view was the low price. At £99, it's really a bargain, and a lot of those issues I did have, I can honestly live with when the price is this low. I think if it would cost a bit more at around the £150 to £200 price mark, then maybe I would have some bones to pick with it. I'll link in the description where I bought it in case you guys want to get your hands on it. But that's it for today, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you've got any experience with portable monitors or what you think about this one. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, as I found that most people who watch my videos, 95% of you aren't subscribed, so please do that, it really helps me out. And that's it, I'll see you guys in the next one.